So I will start with light gadgets. And what I'm gonna start with first is glitch grenades. And that is going straight into S tier. Glitch is the best ability in the game. It disables all utility like medium healing beam, heavy shields, and explosive mines, that kind of things. So it's very strong for the light class. It's probably the one thing you should not unequip if you're playing light. Next up is the taser, if I can find it. The stun gun. It's going into A tier. It's not as essential as glitch nades, but it's still very strong. It cancels abilities like defibs and RPGs. Like you just taste them and they can't use abilities or gadgets. It's very strong. It slows their movement speed and forces them to hip fire, so it's very strong. Next up, I will put Vanishing Bomb in A tier. Many people think that Vanishing is not good. This gadget is a sleeper pick. When you use it with a coordinated team, you can cloak your entire team and rotate across areas for free without enemies seeing you. For example, this can be used on Green Bridge on Soul. You can pre-zip or pre-jump pad, pop cloak, and your team can cross without being spotted by the enemy team defending. So it's like very strong if you are playing with a coordinate team on specific objectives where you have to cross open areas. Next up is thermal vision. I will put this in A tier. So people are probably questioning why am I putting thermal in A tier. Well, it's actually super useful against other good lights. Let's say you're against two good lights in the lobby and they all run invis. You play around your team, pop thermal, and look for the lights trying to get picks on your team. Pretty much this gadget counters the invis playstyle for light. I would only pick this gadget against other lights using invis. I would only pick this gadget versus lights using invis. It's kinda useless if you're not playing against invis lights. It can also be used to see past like smoke and rubble and explosives and like all the annoying things on your screen. So you can kinda just see through all of it and beam. Next up is breach charges. I'm gonna put this in B tier. So it can be used to make mini nukes. Stop steals from happening by like putting the breaching charges on the cash outs and that kind of things. Like blow up walls by yourself. But the issue, it doesn't really do much compared to other gadgets you can equip on the light class. Like breach charges doesn't really do much compared to glitch nades and stun and thermal and vanishing. It doesn't really do as much as the other gadgets. And the next gadget is motion sensor. It's going into D tier. It's probably the worst gadget in the game. It's basically a weaker version of sonar grenades. And it's not good in my opinion, it's just not useful. Now I will talk about medium gadgets. So you can probably guess already, defibs is very strong. It's kinda easy to understand why defibs are S tier. One of your teammates dies and you can insta-rest them with 50% HP. It's just very strong. Now I'm gonna talk about two gadgets in the same kind of category. It's zip lines and jump pads. They're both going into S tier. The keyword here is mobility. Medium provides mobility to your entire team with these two gadgets, and there is no other gadgets that provide this kind of mobility for your entire team. So like if you're running jump pad, zip line and defibs on medium, you have so much mobility and you have the revive with the defib. It's very strong. Like jump pad and zips are kind of essential for medium because you need that mobility if you're playing medium. For example, you can swap out zip lines for other things, but jump pad is kind of like crucial. Next up, I'm going to talk about APS. It's going straight into A tier. It blocks all projectiles like nades, RPGs, etc. You bring it usually in games where you're playing against like a lot of heavies or team spamming nades. Let's say you're playing against a light player and he's like spamming a bunch of glitch nades. You just bring APS and it kind of counters it. Next, I will talk about gas mines. These are going in A tier as well. Gas mines are probably the best like mines for medium because it provides a lot of utility. It's super good for stalling objectives unless they have a light using glitch nades, so they can just glitch the gas mines, for example. And if they're using like fire nades, for example. So you put them on cash outs or in doorways. So enemies need to either wait for the gas to disappear or just push through it and take chip damage. It's very strong for stalling objectives. Next up is explosive mines. It's going to B tier. This is the second best mine, but not as good as gas, just because they nerfed explosive mines on launch. Before it used to do 160 damage, so it would one-shot lights, but now it does 140. So it's not as good compared to gas. Like explosive would be like better than gas, but since it got nerfed, it's not as strong because it doesn't one-shot lights anymore. Next up is sonar grenades. I will put that in B tier. It used to be very strong, like probably a S tier, like either, but it's B now. So why am I saying this? It had a lot of range, like you could spot enemies from far away. It had a lot of range, but they got nerfed. It doesn't have as much range as it used to have back in the days. So I would like rather use the recon ability over sonar grenades, for example. Like would I really use sonar grenades if I jump at zipline with recon? No. Sonar is in a rough spot right now. Something needs to happen to it because right now it's not as good as it used to be. And I'm gonna put the glitch trap in C. So it's pretty much useless compared to gas mines. Like yes, you glitch them on objective, but what does it really do? It doesn't really provide anything. It doesn't really do much. You're not gonna stall them. You're not gonna do damage to them just glitching them. You're not really doing much. Like yes, you can use it in combination with, like, for example, gas mines. You play gas and glitch traps, but then again, if you're running one medium, you're giving up jump pads, zip lines, or defibs. For example, if you put glitch and gas together, you glitch them, they can't use healing beams and kind of have to wait for the gas mine to disappear. So you can use it in that way, but it's not really that useful. Next up is the pyro mine, putting that in C tier as well. Same concept. Why would you pick pyro mines over gas mines when gas mines provide so much more compared to pyro? Gas is just 10 times better than pyro. So I don't know why you would pick this over gas. Then everyone's favorite, the tracking dart. It's probably the worst gadget in the game. Like, it's close. Like, these two gadgets are just so bad. Like, why even bother picking it? Who even uses tracking dart? I really don't know. Like, who uses this? Like, yeah, yes, you're tracking one guy for a long period of time, but would you really equip tracking dart over zipline and jump pad? Like, this doesn't really do much compared to zipline and jump pad. And if you're trying to, like, have info on people, just use recon. Now I will talk about heavy gadgets, and think like all of you can expect this. RPGs and S tier. I don't really need to say anything about RPG. It one-shots lights, it has massive AoE damage, it destroys walls. It's kind of like a must pick for if you're playing heavy. Like, if you're playing heavy not using RPG, you are kind of like handicapping yourself, because RPG is just a must pick. It provides so much utility and a lot of damage. You can break walls. It's so good. Next up is C4. It's also S tier. It's the same concept as breach charges, just better. Like, you can use C4 for pretty much everything the same that you can do for breach charges. You can make nukes, for example, like put them on barrels and just nuke people. It's very strong. And you can like pre-place C4 on specific spots where you know people are gonna take jump outs from, and just blow them up once they land. It's very strong. Next up is Dome Shield. It's also S tier. It's very strong as well. It's a 300 HP bubble that blocks all damage except gas. Blocks glitch grenades, for example. Like, for example, if your team is inside a bubble, one glitch destroys the bubble, but the people inside the bubble doesn't get glitched. So let's say you're running double heavy, right? You place one dome and it blocks one glitch grenade, and then you place another one and it blocks another one. Now the light has 0 glitch grenades and you're just chilling, you know? It's very strong. Overall, it's like a must pick as well. Like, these three are kind of like something you need to play on heavy every time because it's so strong. It's very, very good. Next up, I'm gonna put Barricade in B tier. It can be used over Dome Shield in some maps or some scenarios. Also based on playstyle. It kind of depends like how you like to play the game. For example, on Las Vegas, it's very open if you're defending on the rooftops. So if you place Barricade on the rooftop, you have a lot of cover where you just make your own cover pretty much with the Barricade. So it kind of depends on map, and it's like Dome is very like way more versatile compared to Barricade. Dome is good everywhere, but Barricade is good in certain scenarios. That's why I'm putting it on B tier. Now I will talk about the Universal Gadgets that you can use for like every class pretty much, except like heavy, for example. Depends. I'll start with frags. I'll put frags up here. It's very strong. It deals 149 damage or 149 damage. It's good for chunking enemies and getting entry damage or stalling, so they need to regen before fighting again. One thing I like doing as a light is I toss glitch grenades to cancel abilities, then I toss my frags afterwards to chunk them, and I just keep doing it, and they can't heal, they're low on HP, and we push off that. Now I will do gas. This is going straight into A tier. Same concept as a gas mine. It's good for stalling objectives, forcing enemies to either use pyro grenades or wait or take tick damage. It's the same concept as gas mines. It's very strong as well. Like, gas mine and gas grenade is like kind of the same. They have the same purpose, only that this is reactive and this is kind of like you just place it and kind of wait for things to happen. Next up, I'm gonna bring flashbangs into A tier. So flashes can be used in certain scenarios. Like if you're in the final round, you can use flashes to push up on a team that's blind, but it doesn't really do much if you're playing against multiple teams. Like, let's say you're in the knockout rounds, not the final round where it's a 3v3. Like, if you're playing knockout rounds, I would rather use frag grenades because there are a lot of people. But in certain scenarios, I would actually pick flashbang over frag grenades in the final round. Next up is pyro grenades, putting this in B as well. The only real use case for pyro grenade is to remove gas. It doesn't really do a lot of damage or do stalling like the gas nades do. So I would only use pyro grenades if you're struggling with gas pretty much. That's about it. Like, pyro grenades are not good. They're only good to counter gas. So I would pick it against a lot of gas users. So I would only pick pyro grenades against gas players. Next up is smoke grenades. I'm gonna put this in C tier. Compared to the other option, it doesn't really do much. I don't see a scenario where you would swap out other gadgets to use smokes instead. Maybe if you're playing light with like thermal vision, so you can see through the smoke, but I wouldn't sacrifice taser for a smoke grenade to play thermal smoke, you know? Next, I'm gonna put the goo in C tier. Like, why am I putting goo in C tier? Like, goo nades are very good. Like, goo in general is very, very good. It's underutilized. The concept of goo is very, 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 like, interesting. You can do a lot with goo, but I would not swap out, like, frags or glitch grenades or gas mines for goo grenades. Like, you're sacrificing so much for playing goo compared to, like, gas mines or gas grenades or that kind of things. I would rather grab goo barrels on the map instead of using goo grenades as a slot. So like, if you have goo barrels around the map, why would you even pick goo grenades? Like, yes, you have more goo at your disposal, but would you actually play goo grenades over frag grenades, where frag grenades do a lot more compared to goo? This is just my tier list and what I think is viable. And I hope you learned something from what I said, and I hope it gives you a better perspective of what I think of gadgets and how they can be utilized. If you want more content, go follow my Twitch. I'll be live pretty much every single day, grinding the finals.